My name is Sarah, though that isn't my real name. I'm using it because some wounds are too deep to expose fully, even after everything that has happened. But this is my story, one that changed everything about me, everything about what I believe love was, and everything about who I thought I married. I grew up just outside of Dallas, Texas, in a small but lively town where everyone knew everyone else's business, where church on Sundays was practically mandatory, and where high school football was treated like the Super Bowl. My parents were supportive, hardworking middle-class folks who taught me to trust people, to see the good first, and to believe that love, real love, was worth fighting for. I met Mark when we were both students at the University of Texas at Austin. He was magnetic from the moment I saw him, confident, athletic, the type of guy who walked into a room and instantly had everyone's attention. He was studying business, involved in leadership programs, and already dreaming big about working for one of Houston's major oil corporations. I was a marketing major who loved creativity, design, and everything artsy. We couldn't have guessed it then, but our personalities were perfect complements, at least in the beginning. We started dating after a long night at a friend's house party. One drink turned into two, laughter turned into deeper conversation, and before we knew it, we were spending every day together. It was the kind of college romance people fantasize about: impulsive road trips, late night studying, sneaking into football stadiums after hours, dreaming about a shared future. By the time we graduated, we were inseparable. He proposed during a trip to the Texas State Fair, right under the Ferris wheel. I said yes without hesitation. From that moment forward, my dreams were aligned with his. We got married at a rustic ranch venue, surrounded by warm lights, country music, and all of our friends and family. I remember looking at him while we danced to our first song and thinking, I've won the lottery. This man is going to love me forever, but life has a cruel way of showing you its darker side. We moved to Houston after the wedding. Mark secured a job at a major oil corporation, one of the biggest in Texas. The hours were long, but the pay was good, and he climbed the ladder quickly. I started my freelance graphic design business from home. We bought a cozy 3-bedroom house with a big backyard for Buddy, our golden retriever. We talked about kids, future vacations, and maybe even buying a vacation home someday. Everything felt right, at least on the surface. The first signs of change were subtle. Little things like him becoming more protective of his phone. When we first got married, he didn't even have a passcode. But suddenly he added one. He said it was for work security, and because I trusted him, I didn't question it. Then came the late nights. At first, he said he was trying to prove himself for a promotion. I believed him. Then the out-of-town conferences started happening too frequently. He'd leave on a Friday and return late Sunday night, exhausted but distant. But the moment that truly struck me happened on a rainy October evening. He came home smelling like a sweet floral perfume, something I had never worn. Something too delicate, too unfamiliar. He blamed in his soap at the office gym, but the way he said it hesitant, Rush planted a seed of doubt in my heart. From that day on, things started unraveling. His phone buzzed constantly, especially at night. When I'd ask who it was, he'd say it was a colleague or something work-related. He was always tired, always stressed, always distracted. Until one night, everything changed. He fell asleep early after, claiming he was exhausted from a long day. I lay next to him, wide awake, thoughts racing. Something inside me, call it intuition, fear, or the faint voice of reality, told me to grab his phone. His passcode was still my birthday. He hadn't changed that. Maybe because he never expected I'd check. When the screen unlocked, I didn't want to scroll. I didn't want confirmation of what my heart already feared. But I did, and there it was. A conversation with someone named Alex, work buddy. The messages were not friendly, not professional. They were intimate, flirtatious, filled with heart emojis, late night confessions, and photos. Photos that made my stomach drop her in lingerie, posing suggestively and him replying with excitement and desire. I went numb. My chest felt tight. My hands shook as I scrolled back months. He had been cheating for over a year. Hotels, weekend trips, expensive dinners. Lies layered on lies. I cried silently in the bathroom while he slept peacefully in our bed, unaware that his double life had finally come crashing down. The next morning, I decided something he would never expect. I didn't confront him. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I played the perfect wife, because if I wanted justice, real, lasting justice, I needed a plan. I hired a private investigator named Mike. He was an ex-cop, rough around the edges but sharp. He followed Mark for weeks. He captured photos of Mark and Alex kissing outside cafes, checking into motels, holding hands in parking lots. He even managed to record conversations where Mark bragged about how boring I had become and how he was ready for a fresh start. Every word was a knife, but I collected all of it. Then I contacted my best friend Lisa, who happened to be a family lawyer. She laid everything out for me. With this evidence, she told me, you can take him for everything. But if you want revenge, real revenge, we have to be smart, patient, and precise. So that's exactly what we did. For weeks, I pretended everything was fine. I cooked his favorite meals, planned date nights, acted affectionate, and even suggested we go to counseling. He thought I was forgiving him for being distant. He had no idea I was quietly building the perfect trap. I started infiltrating his world. At company events, I befriended his coworkers, spouses, and subtly mentioned how Mark has been working closely with his assistant lately. Rumors spread naturally, especially in corporate circles. I created a fake recruiter profile to contact Alex. I pretended to represent a major competitor company. She fell for it instantly. During a face-to-face interview, she spilled everything: how long they'd been seeing each other, how Mark promised to leave me, and even how she disliked the company and thought she deserved better. I recorded every word. Meanwhile, I hacked into our joint financial accounts, not illegally, just using passwords. I already knew and found thousands spent on gifts and hotel rooms. I printed everything. I accessed his email and discovered doctored expense reports he had filed, personal trips as business expenses. I sent everything anonymously to HR. I planned a weekend getaway to a beautiful cabin in the Texas Hill Country. I told Mark it was my way of starting fresh. I booked the cabin for 3 days. Then I contacted his parents, pretending it was a surprise family gathering. Finally, I used Mark's phone to message Alex, pretending to be him, inviting her to the cabin for a romantic weekend. And then I waited. When we arrived at the cabin, Mark was relaxed, affectionate, excited. I almost felt sorry for him, almost. An hour later, a car pulled up. His parents stepped out with excited smiles. Mark's face drained of color. Before he could process anything, another car arrived. Alex stepped out in a tight dress, holding flowers. The moment their eyes met, everything exploded. His mom demanded answers. His dad shouted. Alex froze. Mark stuttered. And I simply sat on the porch and said, "Everyone, please have a seat. I have a few things to show you." I opened my laptop and let the evidence speak for itself. Photos, messages, recordings, financial documents. His mother started crying. His father yelled at him for disgracing the family. Alex stormed off after calling him a liar. Mark begged for forgiveness from his parents, from Alex, from me. But I walked away. When we returned home, everything fell apart for him. HR launched a full investigation. Mark was fired for misconduct and falsifying expense reports. Alex was reassigned and eventually quit. I filed for divorce. With the evidence I had, the court granted me the house, half the assets, part of his retirement, and alimony. I kept Buddy. Then came the final blow. I discovered a hidden offshore account Mark had opened. I anonymously reported it to the IRS. They hit him with audits, penalties, and back taxes that wiped out what little he had left. He tried contacting me multiple times. He texted, called, even showed up at my door drunk one night. I called the police, filed a report, and blocked him everywhere. Meanwhile, my life transformed. My business boomed. I moved into a downtown condo, traveled to New York for design conferences, made new friends, and adopted another dog. I found joy again, real joy without him. 1 year later, Mark sent me a long email apologizing, saying he had ruined the best thing that ever happened to him. I replied, "You're right, and now you get to live with the consequences." Then I blocked him permanently. The story isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming your power, about realizing you're stronger than heartbreak, about understanding that sometimes justice comes not from anger, but from calm, calculated strength. And that's exactly what I found.